guys. It's Laura with Stuff I Find Interesting, episode 69. And still having issues with my computer. All these episodes ready to go, all this motivation, all this discipline. Okay, not really with the discipline, but with the episodes and the motivation. And yeah, so we're going to do this until the computer says no more, which could be in 5 minutes. It could be in 5 hours, but I don't think I'll be talking for that long. So happy Thanksgiving holiday weekend. Yes. Yesterday I had a wonderful, is my computer doing weird things? I had a wonderful weekend, See, I'm all messed up. The light got all weird. I had a wonderful Thanksgiving. My guy made some amazing food, and I had some more of that amazing food for breakfast, and it was delicious. Thanksgiving 2.0. He's at work right now. I have the house to myself. I love that. And I'm running hot and cold right now, so you might see me put clothes on. You might see me take clothes off. I might put on a hat. I might get into a bathing suit. Anything could happen, guys. It's what happens when you hit a certain age. So let's look at some cool stuff while I introduce you to a song that I discovered this week called Bitches Love Me. And it's an AI song. Now, AI makes me a little uneasy, but I really like this song. I got some down bitches I can call. Yeah, the light's changing, right? I don't know what I would do without y'all. I'm a ball till the day I fall. Yeah, long as my bitches love me. Camera obscura. This person captured Train. Ooh, Train. This person captured their two little children playing in the backyard. It'll be in the links. I love that song. It's so much fun. So we're looking at Camera Obscures, which is a subreddit on Reddit, hence the name subreddit. And these are people that capture natural camera obscuras in their everyday life, usually through a curtain or through a blind, like through a crack in the side. I've only seen it once in my life, and that was at my old apartment when I was a little kid. The light came in a certain way through the blind and hit the wall, and for like a foot, I could see like a movie of what was going on outside. It was really cool. And I was like, what was that? And I jumped up and moved the window and destroyed it. So, classic. Let me just make sure I give credit where credit is due. This is Bitches Love Me, AI for the Culture. Again, it'll be in the links. I'm not going to go over this video. I'm just going to include it so you can enjoy it. I was reading some stuff this week about Sakhalin Island, formerly known as Carfudo. Well, at least the southern part was known as Carfudo. And it's interesting how everything old becomes new again, and how things that were irrelevant are suddenly relevant. Let me explain what I mean. First, let's talk about where this place is. Sakhalin Island. This thing right here in red. Let's bigify it. It was a fairly good-sized island. I mean, this is Japan. This is Sakhalin. Big island. These are the Kuril Islands, which have been featured in several episodes. Now, if we look at where this is located, it's located right above Japan, kind of like an outstretched arm. But it's also in this one spot not too far away from Russia, although this part doesn't look very habitable. It looks kind of like very marshy. Maybe not. I don't know. I just don't see a whole lot of... I mean, this is Pogibi. Oh, look, there are people that live there. Check that shit out. That's wild. See? People live everywhere. Nice Pogibi. Oh, there's pictures. Let's see what we got. Huh. Okay. So a little marshy, but not quite as marshy as it looks in the photo. Anyhow, you can tell just by looking at these pictures, and I'm going to show you some more pictures, that this is a very chilly place. And there are all kinds of strange noises outside. So, if I could just back up for a minute and tell you guys a funny story. Well, kind of a funny story. Guy next door, former guy next door, not here anymore. Probably a big deal drug dealer. I don't know, seemed like a nice guy. Whatever. Police get a hold of my landlord and say, hey, we want you to put a Ring camera in this apartment because you can also see that apartment collaterally. Like, even though it's in this apartment, because the doors are like this and like this, like an L shape. So if there's a camera here, it's going to look across these doors, and you'll be able to see whatever's going on. Anyhow, there's a Ring camera in my apartment looking out at that doorway. Landlord calls the other day to let us know that the police are probably going to raid that apartment and that we should not be alarmed should we see a whole lot of police. So I keep expecting to hear that, and also it's happened here before, but the apartment next to it. And then also they're redoing the roof, so there's a whole bunch of stuff going on out there. Anyway, I'm just explaining the extraneous noises that might be weird. Like you might hear yelling or hammering. Be like, what the heck's going on there? What kind of craziness? What kind of craziness is going on over there? Winter in Sakhalin, Russia's largest island. Sakhalin is the largest Russian island, which used to be known as Kharfuto. And I'm going to show you some photos of when it was Kharfuto. I had wanted to visit this far-flung part of Russia for already quite some time. Opportunity came up, blah, blah, blah. Here are some photos, blah, blah, blah. How do you get there? It's not easy, blah, blah, blah. We have negative 13 degrees. It's practically balmy. Yuzhno-Sakhalinsk Airport is far from grandiose. In fact, at the time of my visit, its old terminal was showing quite evident signs of aging and decay. The good news is that a new terminal is already being built next to it following modern standards. Things to see: churches, tanks, big imposing buildings, more imposing buildings, a half-assed carnival. Oh, look, a single train. Now, this is the only Japanese building, pretty much. There's some, but pretty much like the main one that's left on the island. Everything else has been turned into Sovietish. You know what I mean. This is it. This is the only thing. So if someone were to not tell you where this was located and show you pictures of it like this, or like this, like this, you'd say, "Oh wow, that's Russia, man. That's totally Russia." But if we go to Carfuto, Carafuto, my apologies, we see things like this, this. I went looking for a like a photo album of Carafuto with some more, with some older pictures, and it's not easy to find. So the Carafuto are Ainu. I'm never really sure how to pronounce that. I could look it up. But they are similar in features to people from Alaska, really. When I was mentioning noise, I forgot to also mention the sirens that are quite active in this city. But you know what? I know that if something were to happen here, they'd get here really fast, and that's important to me. So I'll deal with the sirens. Is this Carafuto? No, this is something else entirely. This is the only Carafuto album I can find. Let's look at these photos together. Maybe we can just scroll through them. I'm not sure if I can. Oh. Darn it. They're postcards. We have Pulp Factory, a part of Otomari Town. So we can see this is before it was more Sovietized. Seacoast, Carafuto. It'll be in the links. You can look. There's probably something really interesting in there. I started to get sidetracked, which is usually what happens. When I do these things, I go back and I look at them, and then as I go back and look at them, I find more interesting things about the interesting things. And then I just end up with this pile of stuff, and I'm like, I don't even know how I'm going to talk for that long. People are going to go to sleep. They're going to go to work, come home, and I'm still going to be talking. It's going to be terrible. So the reason why I was talking about everything old being new again and how stuff comes back around is this is a interesting article that's pretty not like super recent. It's from, but not super old either. It's from 2022. And that is that Russia, rumor has it, is considering selling the Sakhalin Island back to Japan because they could use that money to do all kinds of things, right? They could recoup money they've lost in their war chest. So that is why I brought it up about everything old being new again. And that is that this town is, this place, this island is once again back in discussions. It's very cyclical. Speaking of today's news, orcas start wearing dead salmon hats again after ditching the trend for 37 years. Orcas off the coast of Washington state are balancing dead fish on their heads like it's the 1980s, but researchers still aren't sure why they do it. Last month, scientists and whale watchers spotted orchids swimming with dead fish on their heads. This is the first time they've donned the bizarre headgear that we know of since the summer of 1987, when a trend-setting female West Coast orca kick-started the behavior for no apparent reason. Within a couple weeks, the rest of the pod had jumped on the bandwagon, turned salmon corpses into must-have fashion accessories. There you have it, folks. Orcas wearing dead salmon hats. Let us not think of, well, actually, speaking of dead, this is Jean-Léon Guillaume, an artist I particularly like. And I had found this whole thing on narrative painting that I was going to share here. Um, but there was a lot of nudity, and I know that might not be like okay with everybody, even though it's artistic nudity. Could be little kids running around in the background. Could be at work pretending you're working. So I chose to take it out, which left me with just this. With regards to narrative painting, we can see the narrative, right? We have the dead tiger, the pasha, these big ass candles. And we can see beyond to a fountain, and then even beyond that to where the columns continue. We can almost imagine walking across the floor and hearing the soft echoes of our feet, right? That's what I imagine when I see places like this. Like, what would that sound like if I was walking across? Like, maybe my footsteps would just get swallowed up. Maybe you wouldn't even hear it at all. But very sad. Rest in peace, sweet line. Now, I was watching Joe Rogan and Jimmy Corsetti and some other guy whose name escapes me. They were talking again about the Richat structure. And I had to actually shut the episode off because they started talking politics, and it made me literally sick to my stomach. I couldn't deal with it. I was like, I can't deal with this. Like, it was very alarming to me. It's very alarming to me that white men and white women, and I say this as a white woman, are the first ones to complain about being mistreated. Try being like a gay black man and talk to me about being mistreated, right? I mean, come on. I don't know. Just, they were talking about woke politics. Has the left gone too far? Absolutely. They're a bunch of crazy people. But the right, it's like, and I think I made this analogy last time. Do I want to lose just a finger? Or do I want to lose both my legs? They're both terrible. One is less terrible than the other, in my opinion. Because, okay, we're going to stop talking about it. Richat structure, Atlantis. See, this is what happened to Atlantis. The woke culture blew it up. Or the Nazis did, I don't know. Take your pick, they both did. Right wing, left wing, same bird. This is my oasis map of Northern Africa and Saudi Arabia area, which includes Oman, Qatar, and Yemen. And I think a little bit of Kuwait. No Kuwait in there. And the reason I'm revisiting this map is not because of the Richat structure, although we'll say hello to it. Let's say hello to it. Hello, Richat structure. But to bring your attention to the point that there are oases there. This is an important point. Now, let's go to why this is an important point. A 4,000-year-old city was recently discovered in Saudi Arabia. The city is called Al-Nata. It's in the Khabar Oasis in the Medina province of northwest Saudi Arabia. It was inhabited from 2400 BCE to 1300 BCE, so for like 1,000 years. I mean, nothing. Certainly nothing to sneeze at. That was a pretty decent amount of time. And if we go to where Khabar is right here. And we can see we have our little walled oasis constructed in the second half of the 3rd millennium BCE. So there's a whole legend that goes along with. There's Khyber, depending on who you ask, I suppose. So it was once lush. There's still an oasis there. It's not completely dried out, but it's nowhere near. Let's look at some photos. It's nowhere near, obviously, what it used to be in terms of trade, population, activity, economic status. The city is crumbling. Hidden 4,000-year-old town. Here's what it might have looked like in its heyday. So the reason I find this interesting and so important is that if we're going to start looking at northern Africa for cities, hidden cities under the sands, we should start with the oasis spots, right? You pick one of these oasis spots, you go in, and you're bound to find something, because where there's water, there's people. Where there's water, there's life. Where there's water, there's things happening. You can walk across a desert if there's water every few miles. So, anyhow, that's my 2 cents. That's my advice to archaeologists. Take it, make of it what you will, archaeologists. Here's some more. This will also be in the links. This is the Journal of Archaeological Science. Goes into more of the science of it, how it was discovered, what was discovered. But there's a wall that was 2.4 meters thick. That was about 14 kilometers long. And it had 74 bastions, I believe, and that's only half of the original route. But it had ramparts, and it was very complex. It was not just a bunch of buildings next to an oasis, with like some goats running around. It was a lot more complicated. There was agriculture. There was the management of water. So interesting, and it brings up urbanization in that area. Whereas we've been told that it's just been desert forever, or desert, just as desert, there's nothing there, it's desert, there's some whale bones, but also it's desert. Well, no, that's not exactly true. It's a little bit more complicated than that, just like everything is a little bit more complicated. Recent exploration of the Khaybar Oasis by the Khaybar Longue Durée Archaeological Project has led to the discovery of an exceptional Bronze Age fortified site called Al-Nata. For the first time in northwestern Arabia, the characteristics of a 2nd millennium BCE settlement can be assessed over a large area. Preliminary archaeological survey and soundings have revealed a fortified 2.6 hectares town built around 2400 to 2000 BCE, which lasted until at least 1500 BCE and possibly 1300 BCE, but with possible interruptions. It was functionally subdivided into a residential area, a decision-making zone like governments, and a necropolis, so your cemetery. The nucleated dwellings were constructed following a standard plan and were connected by small streets. By comparison with neighboring oasis centers, we suggest that northwestern Arabia during the Bronze Age, largely dominated by pastoral nomadic groups and already integrated into the long-distance trade networks, was dotted with interconnected monumental walled oases centered around small fortified towns. So you have these incredible towns in between nomads. I was doing my map thing this week like I usually do. And, I did save that painting. Okay, well, I'll show it to you. I'll warn you before I bring it up on the screen. It's really not that bad. You'll see. Doing my map stuff. And I saw water rooms. So I was actually looking at this here, which is clearly from a big-ass meteorite smacking into the land. Smack! René Levasseur Island. That's where I've heard that before. There's a teacher at my school, and that's her last name, and I'm like, where have I heard that before? And now I know where I've heard that before. I've heard it because of this island. The Louis Bebel Ecological Reserve, which is in Canada. If we look at some photos. Beautiful place. Probably want to be prepared when you go there. Anyhow, going back to the water rooms. I'm like, water rooms? What? Uh-oh. Now I lost it. Where'd it go? Uh-oh. I lost the water rooms, guys. Where'd it go? Crap. Oh, there it is. Okay, water rooms. It's there. All right. Now I've got it. So I scroll in really far because I'm interested to see what a water room is. And it's in the water. And I'm like, yep, that's a water room. And this says Baha'i House of Worship. And on the review, it says, saw it on the map, looks freaking huge. So, thank you, person who reviewed it. This is a weird place out here. This is, Inuit-owned land. I think I looked up the population of this island, and it's like 1,100, but I'm not sure exactly where they live on here, or if there's just like 20 here or 20 there. I didn't get that deep with it. I just became incredibly amused by water rooms. And then I was like, if there's only 1,000 people there, why would there be a Baha'i house of worship? And then I came to the conclusion that it's probably a mistake. But interesting all the same. So this is the picture that I was talking about. Now looking at this picture, you'd say, wow, it looks really modern. Looks like maybe it was painted like recently. And nope, it's from 1888. We have the wandering Jew. We have death come to claim him. We have humanity laying on the ground, freezing to death, and hope in the foreground, waving goodbye. It's a very bleak painting. I really like it. But she's naked, which is why I said, So this is stories of narrative paintings from old masters to contemporary artists. Let's pick a month. See, now I'm getting hot again. Oh my God. This is terrible. Whew, okay. Let's go to April 2020. That was a fun month, right? That was the month after the COVID lockdowns. Actually, let's go before then. Let's go back to when we still had some hope. So this website talks about narrative painting, and it goes into the old and the young, old paintings and newer paintings. And if I seem to be having trouble speaking today, that's also something that's been happening, and I've been told that can happen with menopause. Like you forget what you're going to say, you space out. And yeah, it's been happening. Sometimes, some days it's worse than others. It's probably worse today because I ate a lot, and I ate a lot of stuff that I don't normally eat. I've been really trying to eat a lot healthier the past, 6 months or so. And it really has made a big difference. So when I go back and I eat super processed foods, I can feel it. Not to sound like a big old baby, but this is a fun website to poke through. Narrative painting. You'll enjoy it. Naked people, though. Naked people. Memories of a Lost Valley, 5,000 photographs discovered in an attic. So there was a seed peddler, very poor, and somebody he did work with gave him a camera instead of money. And he took pictures of his town in the Swiss territory. Actually, Swiss, Italy, kind of up in that, is it Switzerland? Is it Italy? Is it Switzerland? Is it Italy? Kind of like straddling. And he took some of the most amazing pictures with no training. He taught himself how to do it. Really incredible. And we're going to listen to a song I like while we look at these pictures.
In the depths of my pain, I remained all alone. Every tear, every strain, I've made them my own. Don't speak of the light or the hope.
These pictures are extraordinary.
In the dark of my night, I'll be cold, I'll be numb. Let the silence be my song.
He was born into poverty. He was forced to emigrate. He went to northern Italy to sell chestnuts.
Every ache, every sigh, every heart full of woe, I'll absorb, I'll embrace this pain I must.
He married at 21 and had 7 children.
In the depths of my pain, I'll remain all alone. Every tear, every strain, I've made them my own. Don't speak of the light or the hope yet to come. In the dark of my night, I'll be cold, I'll be numb. It is mine, mine alone, not for others to claim. In my sorrow I've grown, finding strength in the flame. Every sigh, every
This might be
breath,
my favorite.
each moment of strife. In this solitude free, I search for my life. In the depths of my pain, I'll remain all alone. Every tear, every strain, I've made them my own. Don't speak of the light or the hope yet to come. In the dark of my night, I'll be cold, I'll be numb.
So there's more photos in that article, and this song will also be in the link so you can listen to it. And I don't necessarily know that the lyrics are a little heavy-handed, but the melody is just really wonderful. And it only has 45 views. So maybe go give him a listen, because that's a good song. That's a solid song. You got your drink and you wave it back and forth and you sing. Right? In the depths of my pain, I remain all alone. Right? Right, Remiel? Remi? I'm not sure how you would say that. Apparently, he has a book too. So if you like his poetry, you could get his book. Okay, we're entering into conspiracy land, and okay, we're cooling down again. Nice, excellent, I love it. Conspiracy land. Let's talk about the golden hats of Central Europe. There are 4 of them, and they are collectively known as the golden hats. They are dated between 1400 and 800 BC. Their purpose remains shrouded in mystery. Here's an example. This is the Schifferstadt, found in Germany. These hats were made to put on a head. So if you look at the brim, you can kind of extrapolate how big this particular one would have been. The Schifferstadt hat was buried upright with 3 axe heads around it, clearly ceremonial. In the way that it was made is that the gold was hammered really thin, pow, 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 and then it was placed over molds and then hammered very carefully around a design like that was already. So like there was something hard, the design was already there, you put the gold on it and you go hammer, 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 and then it makes the relief. The Schifferstadt hat is not alone. 3 other golden hats have been discovered across Central Europe. There is the Avantin gold cone, found near Poitiers, France. The gold cone of Ezelsdorf Butch, unearthed near Nuremberg, Germany. And the Berlin gold hat, whose exact origins remain unknown. It is believed to have come from Swabia or Switzerland and likely dates the same period as the others. So why? Why did they make these hats? What was the reason? They're saying maybe it was a sun cult. What's a sun cult? We'll come back to that in a minute. Here's another picture. It turns out they were decorated with the spiral motif of the sun and the moon, and they were probably a kind of calendar used to calibrate between the lunar and solar calendars. So they were hats, but they were also calendars. And they are associated with the Urnfield culture of Central Europe. It was a sun cult. I don't think this Reddit thing has anything. Someone says, I've seen them in person. They're huge. They're associated with the Bronze Age Urnfield culture. They are decorated with a spiral motif. They represent systematic sequences in terms of number and types of ornaments per band. And you say, well, how does that work? I'm gonna show you. So this breaks down the Schifferstadt hat, how it's decorated. Here's a golden mold cape that might have been worn with it, but this is how it breaks down into the solar lunar. And if you want me to explain that, I can't. It's a calendar. So the Nordic Bronze Age, which was from around this period, was characterized by significant and highly prevalent sun cults. So the sun, some of the sun cults would have been like the Menisi and the Trundholm Sun Chariot archaeological find an echo to similar stories within the Indo-European umbrella, but what is more recognizable for heathens is what appears to be an earlier iteration of what we later recognize as the story of Suna and her chariot within Norse cosmological myths. I regret reading that out loud. That made no sense. There are also people, the sun cults believe that there was a chariot, and the chariot drove the sun around the sky. And they believe that the beyond the sea was located where the sun maintained its brilliance from rising to its sunset, and that you could hear the sound of its emergence, and you could see its horses. So the concept of sun with horses dates back even further to the Nordic Bronze Age, and it seems to have focused heavily around a sun cult. And this is where it goes into some other stuff that has been found in the area. And when they say sun cult, it's like there could be multiple cults within this umbrella of what I'm saying, cult. This is another calendar. It's a bowl, also used as a calendar. And 2,000 gold spirals, very tiny gold spirals, which may have been worn, not really sure what they are. And then there's discussion of that. So now you say a sun cult. Well, it would have covered this area, this whole area here. So we're talking a pretty big area of the world. And like 4,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, they were making these incredible gold pieces. Now, if a culture is making things that are that intricate and that beautiful, they have time to make things that are that intricate and that beautiful, meaning that the person making them is fed, the person making them is clothed, the person making them is probably not out there hunting, someone else is hunting, because there's now this society that supports people like artists, shamans, priests, whatever. So, moving on. This is suddenly no longer interesting to me. We're almost at the end. I'm so excited we might actually make it through this episode. It's not even very good, but you know what? I'm putting it up because I've done it 3 times already. Yeah, and you know what? Each time I do it, it gets worse. So, we're plowing through. Let's deepen the conspiracies. Our solar system is changing rapidly and nobody is talking about it. Pluto's atmosphere has collapsed. Neptune's storms have suddenly begun rotating backwards. Uranus's polar regions are visibly flaring. Jupiter has experienced a 700-degree temperature impulse. It goes on. It goes on and on and on and on. Now, here on Earth, our magnetic poles are definitely doing freaky-deaky stuff. There's no doubt about that. It's accelerated in terms of its traveling around. That's been on an episode before, I think. We see aurora as far down south as Mexico. there are parts of the world where you really don't want to fly under. Like I think there's the South American anomaly is what it's called, but the ozone layer, or the layer that protects from the solar radiation, is very thin in one particular spot. So it's not really a spot that you want to hang out. It's over the ocean. So like nobody lives there, but so anyway, I saw this and I was like, is this true? And I was in the process of investigating it last time when my computer crapped out. But let's see. Pluto's atmosphere has recently collapsed. It actually has. Okay, let's see. What else have we got? Neptune storms going backwards. Okay. Yeah, that's actually happening too. But let's go down to the where the fear mongering is not. Because some of this gets really, really, really crazy. Let's go to controversial. It doesn't appear as though there's anything really, at least not here. Just some discussion about the pole shift, which seems to be, and also people saying stuff like, this is why we are seeing so many distractions. There is something up there, and the people in power are bleeding us dry to ensure their safety. I don't completely disagree with that. I think it's probably happening. So, EMCO, or electromagnetic plasma changeover event, is likely coming sometime in the near future. This is a singular event with many aspects that goes by many names by various cultures, otherwise known as the pole shift, the Christian rapture, the Norse Ragnarok, Twilight of the Gods, plasma apocalypse, Great Reset, Phoenix event, cyclical cataclysm, the blue star Kachina, the shift, or the harvest. Signs that this event are close are an increase in purple-pink skies and aurora borealis, increased solar flares and geomagnetic storms, which add to the weakening of the Earth's electromagnetic field, superstorms, wildfires, floods, droughts, heat waves, volcanic activity, seismic activity, grid blackouts, radio satellite disturbances, and much more. The last time this event happened was the Younger Dryas era roughly 12,000 years ago, or the flood of Noah. So there's some interesting things going on. Whether you believe anything's going to happen in our lifetime or not, it might not. But there are things happening, which is interesting to sit and think about. And it's also interesting to sit around and think about from the point of how small we are, right? Like, we're just so tiny. We have no control over anything. Now, this happened November 13th. Experts testify before lawmakers that the U.S. is running secret UAP programs. Is intelligent life darting around in space, even the skies above us here on Earth? Has the U.S. government been covering up unexplained phenomena and using secret extra discoveries to boost its own technology? Maybe. Either that or Elon has fake UFOs going on to take away from the fact that all the fun stuff he's doing politically. Anyhow, and the point that I really wanted to make is that they're talking about UFOs in Congress. Like, they're having actual hearings where they're getting together, they're sitting down, and there are people with degrees who are pilots, who have been in the military, who have passed very intense checks, physical, mental, spiritual, all of the checks. They're saying, yeah, there's stuff up there that we don't understand. There's stuff up there that we can't explain. Doesn't mean that it's a UFO. Not necessarily. There's some discussion that perhaps that plasma can live, much like a person or an animal can live or a plant can live. That plasma might be a living thing that we have not really discovered yet. Just the fringes of it. So this one guy who's a retired rear admiral of the U.S. Navy says confirmation that UAPs are interacting with humanity came from me in January 2015. He was at a pre-deployment naval exercise off the U.S. East Coast that culminated in the famous Go Fast video in which a Navy F-18 jet sensors recorded an unidentified object exhibiting flight and structural characteristics unlike anything in our arsenal. And he was among a group of commanders involved in the exercise who received an email containing the video, which was sent by the operations officer of the Fleet Forces Command. So that there were the people doing the activities, and they took the video, and they were like, "Hey, what's this?" So they sent it up the chain. The very next day, the email disappeared from my account and those of the other recipients without explanation. I'll finish my conspiracy land by letting you know that the man who made an AI that predicted the 2004 tsunami in Indonesia says there will be an alien invasion on December 3rd, 2024. Cliff High is a computer scientist known for creating a predictive system called predictive linguistics using a software tool called WebBots. High analyzes vast amounts of internet data, particularly focusing on the emotional content of words, to forecast potential future events. His method, which he started developing in the late 1990s, has been credited with predicting significant events, including the 2004 tsunami in Indonesia. One of his more recent and controversial predictions involves an alien invasion. Cliff High forecasted that following an appearance by Donald Trump on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, humanity would experience a major extraterrestrial event, with the invasion expected to occur precisely 39 days after the podcast episode. This prediction adds to High's reputation for combining unusual linguistic patterns with futuristic events. I don't think that's really crazy. If you can predict what a person is going to do and what they're going to say based on their own personal, patterns, like people that love me, they can predict what I'm going to say. They know kind of what I'm thinking because they've been around me enough. Well, the same thing perhaps can happen with groups of people, groups of data on the internet. And I think I figured out what's going on with my camera and why the light keeps going in and out. It's because the sun keeps going out behind the clouds, in front of the clouds, behind the clouds, in front of the clouds. And the camera's like trying to keep up. Anyway. So there you have it. There's going to be an alien invasion on December 3rd. So get yourself ready. Do I believe that? Not really. But would I be surprised if it happened? Also not really. Let's look at some pictures as we get ready to close down, shall we?
Elle me prend la main et je lui dis oui. Fut un lendemain,
Pictures from 1842.
Paupières et faire mes amis chemin. Ciel du midi clair, elle me prend la main. Quand tu me réponds, c'est que j'aime entendre.
I think this is
Nos
Egypt.
lèvres se frôlent et nos bouches se fendent.
No.
Un été qui
Yes.
dure une décennie. Un prénom qui rime en mélancolie.
That's Turkey.
Perdu dans les annales de mes jours. Collé dans le collage de mes amours. Agrafé à jamais dans mes souvenirs. Des photos de toi qui m'ôtent le soupir. Quand tu me tiens et que tu me dis que l'on s'appartient, que c'est pour la vie, que tu fais confiance à notre avenir.
1842, these
Il n'y
pictures
a
are
que
from.
l'amour pour nous faire souffrir. 10 ans de ces mots et de tes yeux bruns. Une décennie d'absence plus loin. Toujours si perdu sur le même chemin. Je reviens sur hier depuis le lendemain. On reste figé l'un regardant l'autre. Comme hypnotisé, proie devant le fauve. Allongé comme ça toute l'après-midi. Chacun s'est donné de l'autre comme défi. Face à face, les yeux braqués jusqu'aux larmes. Deux amants tarés dont les corps s'acharnent. Naïf et perdu du premier amour, qui durera jamais mais vivra toujours. Je t'aime depuis une éternité. Je t'aime depuis que tu
Baalbek.
Je t'aime
That's what these are
aujourd'hui,
pictures
je
of.
t'aimerai.
Baalbek.
Depuis notre hier jusqu'au lendemain. Quand tu me tiens et que tu me dis que l'on s'appartient, que c'est pour la vie, que tu fais confiance à notre avenir,
So,
que l'amour pour nous faire souffrir.
my computer made it.
Dans de ces mots et de tes
Yay!
bras, une décennie d'absence plus loin, toujours si perdu sur le même chemin.
I think there's a little wire that needs to be soldered, but I cleaned it out, so it's definitely a little better. Anyhow, I hope everybody has a great rest of the day.
Je t'aime aujourd'hui et je t'aimerai.
That's really all I got. Thanks for joining me.
Je t'aime depuis